We're doing it. All right. How to sell streetwear. Ladies and gentlemen, why sell streetwear? These are the things we're going to be talking about. And then the challenges of selling streetwear and how to overcome those challenges. Very, very simple. Okay, why do you want to sell streetwear? Well, extra source of income. Who doesn't like more income, right? I mean, why are you in this group? To get more money. So if you're not selling streetwear to get more money, then you're, by definition, making less money, right? So, also, another reason why you want to sell streetwear is that it's easier to buy than shoes. When it comes to sneakers, it's very, very competitive. As you guys know, I don't have to tell you about how difficult it is sometimes. You're going to be looking like this guy, trying to buy sneakers. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy sneakers. You absolutely should buy sneakers. But if you are not selling streetwear, then you're missing out on easy gains, my friend. Another reason why you want to sell streetwear is that you have an option for high volume without compromise specifically. So what do I mean by that? So in the sneaker world, if you want to do really high volume, typically you would have to compromise your profit margins. So what I'm referring to are like typically bricks, like brick flips, right? So you would be able to buy maybe even hundreds of pairs of a sneaker, but however, most likely it would be a model that wouldn't sell for too much. Maybe you would get like $3 to $4 on top of whatever you pay for. This is also very common for sneaker resellers that don't spot or don't do releases. What they do is they would basically middleman more or less. They would buy lots and lots of shoes from other resellers, and then they would just sell for a little bit higher, and then that's how they would do volume. However, for streetwear specifically, being that it is so easy to cop, being that there isn't as much competition, and a lot of people are hesitant to buy them, you can easily purchase so many pieces without having to sacrifice your profit margins. So if you're going for like a t-shirt or something like that, it's gonna really depend on the item, but typically you don't have to compromise for like profit margins. You can do volume and have really nice profit on these pieces too. And also there's less competition, kind of. And what I mean by that is that a lot of your competition is gonna be from people selling fakes, which is super annoying to deal with. However, we'll get into that. It's going to be one of the challenges that we're going to be overcoming. So what are the challenges? So every time I see a streetwear release within the server, and then things drop that people don't expect, or retail prices change, or there's just a lot of things dropping, right? Like, for example, what do you buy? What colors do you buy? What sizes do you buy? There's so many options, so many choices. In comparison to a sneaker release, where you basically we say, oh, hey, go for this shoe, and then you guys just try to go for the shoe. Like, it's pretty straightforward. However, when it comes to streetwear, it might be a little bit tricky, right? So this is one of the biggest concerns a lot of people have, is like it's a little bit overwhelming as to what pieces to buy. Also, another thing that makes it very difficult is that typically there's no sales history for new pieces. So unlike sneakers, sometimes they get early releases in other regions, sometimes they get backdoored, and you would kind of get a sense for how much some of these pieces would like go for, right? However, for streetwear, it's not like that. You kind of just have to predict, I suppose, like how much something is going to resell for. It especially doesn't help the fact that we typically don't get stock numbers for a lot of pieces. We kind of just have to pray to God that the stock numbers aren't insanely high, right? So that's why predicting the prices for streetwear can be very, very difficult. And we're going to go over how to basically do that. Well, we are not going to do that. You'll know what I mean. Okay. Anyways, the next challenge for reselling streetwear is that the sales can sometimes be really slow. Sometimes you might have to sit on pieces for a season or two. Like, for instance, it's the summer right now, and selling hoodies and jackets and stuff isn't really exactly going to be the easiest thing. You know, you might have to wait a little bit before it gets cold again before you're able to, you know, sell your other pieces for good profits, or better profits rather. So slow sales. This is just something that comes with streetwear reselling, just to keep in mind. Also, fakes. Fakes are plaguing the streetwear world. I would say even more so than the sneaker world, because I feel like streetwear is a lot easier to fake, right? You would just, yeah, it's just a lot. Like, I can literally make a fake Hellstar. I'm not actually gonna do it, but I, like, anyone from their house can literally just make one of these. They don't even have to buy it from freaking AliExpress or Panda Buy or whatever. Fakes are a big problem, and they're getting better and better. And we're gonna go over how to fight it as legitimate sellers. All right. So these are the challenges, and we are going to be going over how to get over. We're gonna go over how to get over. Yeah, we're gonna go over how to get over all of these challenges. I got you guys. So if you haven't purchased any streetwear stuff yet, now is the time. All right, here we go. What to buy. So as you guys know, we have two channels for streetwear, two main channels. So we have Supreme OG as a streetwear provider, and we also have DS as a streetwear provider. And they're both going to be saying like what they think is going to be flipping the best for any given release. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that these two providers, they can't see each other's channels. So unless they're talking behind the scenes, their opinions are basically independent of each other. So as a result of that, maybe Supreme OG might think one item's going to do well, and then DS might think, oh, that item might not do well. And some of these conflicting opinions might occur. And another thing to keep in mind is that even though they might have conflicting opinions, keep in mind that both of these people, both of these providers are experts in this field. So we basically try to remove all of the guesswork for you, and we have experts tell us what specifically is going to be reselling for good amounts, right? Now, I know, admittedly, a lot of these risk ratings, they're a little bit generous. I'm not gonna lie, they are a little bit generous, especially after fees and taxes and shipping. The risk is it's a little bit generous, but I am gonna go over how to reduce your risk. Okay, so here's an example of a guide that one of them or both of them might release. Let's say there's a big streetwear release tomorrow. Let's say it's a Supreme drop or something, and then after that, DS says, oh, hey, buy these things. And then Supreme OG says, buy these things. Now, some of them are different and some of them are overlapping. Now, personally, what I like to do to reduce my risk is try to find items where they both share the same opinion, where they're both like, okay, yeah, this item is going to do well. So for instance, if DS says buy the black shirts, and Supreme OG also says buy the black shirts, then most likely the black shirts are gonna do well. So it's just a little. It's really an amazing thing to have two separate providers, because you can do things like this that significantly reduce your risk and increase your confidence in purchasing. So to illustrate it in like a Venn diagram, DS might say buy these things, Supreme might say buy these things, and if they overlap for any convictions, I call it overlapping convictions. If they both think something is going to do well, or a list of things are going to do well, and these are typically the items that I personally go for. So to add on to that, you can do your own market research. So how do you actually do your own market research for pieces, by the way, that has never dropped before, right? So typically what I like to do is I like to look for similar releases from the same brand as a benchmark. So let's say we are going for this graphic t-shirt, long sleeve graphic t-shirt, the one with the eye, and we want to get a feel for how much can we realistically get from this, right? So we would look on maybe Grailed or Alias or eBay and look under the sold listings and try and find some pieces, some sold pieces that have kind of like a similar vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like a similar vibe, similar style. Like for instance, if I was a person who liked this long sleeve t-shirt, what other pieces from Hellstar would I probably like as well? So I quickly made a search on Grailed for Hellstar black long sleeve, and I get this sense these are obviously not the same, but you kind of have at least something to go off of, you know what I mean? So as you can see over here, one sold about 19 days ago for $200, one sold about a month ago for $320, and a month before that, another one sold for $300. So as you can see, the volume, or rather the sale frequency, isn't that high for this piece. So it is something to consider. However, if you have the luxury to, I guess, hold on to pieces, then streetwear especially is going to be very good for you. But if you don't have the luxury to, to be sitting on inventory, I do have a solution for you later on, so stay tuned, okay? So a few things to look for when you're doing this kind of market research is sale frequency, as I mentioned earlier, sold prices. So if the sold prices are way, way above the estimated retail price, then most likely it would be a decent piece to go for. And obviously, like the similarities in the piece that you're looking up versus the piece that you are going for. And last but not least is demand. So what I mean by that is you should go on their Instagram page, their Twitter page, their general social media pages, or any other social media pages that talk about the company that you're about to purchase from. You know, like if they're doing like some leaks or something like that, you want to see what people are saying about the piece. And if they're like, oh, this is a must cop or whatever, then yeah, I think it will not significantly, but it adds on to the idea that, oh, this is going to be kind of like a safe cop, right? So this is kind of something that I use as a supplemental thing. And the reason why it's really important to reduce your risk is because if you decide to bot something, the way you would normally have to bot something is that you have to be prepared for the drop to be very, very difficult. Now, the way to do that is you run lots of tasks, right? You have lots of Gmails, things like that. But what if the drop ends up actually being really easy? Then there's a chance that you might check out a lot more than you intend to. And that's why reducing risk for the pieces that you buy is very important. So how do we use market research to reduce our risk? So we combine that with DS's guide, Supreme OG's guide, and our own market research. So if our own market research indicates, hey, this black t-shirt should be a pretty safe cop, based on estimated retail prices, estimated resale prices, and the two experts are saying that, hey, this piece is going to do well, then this is going to be a piece that I would be very, very comfortable going for. So you basically combine all of these methods to basically check to see like overlapping, any overlapping convictions plus your own market research. All right. So how else do you know like whether or not it's safe to buy like, which to buy rather? Obviously from your buyer. If you have a buyer, I'll be getting into how to find buyers soon here. But if your buyer's like, oh, get me a bunch of white tees, purple shorts, black tees, you just buy what your buyer says he wants to buy from you, right? As long as he's reliable, you've done business with him in the past, you know he's not going to flake on you, then that will definitely decrease your risk significantly. It's almost like you have it's almost risk-free if it's a very, very reliable buyer. So how do you probably got a glimpse of the next slide, but so how do you add this into the equation? So if your buyer says they want it, if according to your market research, it's a safe cop. If DS says that you should buy it, and Supreme OG says you should buy it, then this is a drop that you should consider full sending. And if you don't decide to full send it because you're like a little bit scared, you're new, it's fine. You can just go for a few of them just so that you can get like a little bit of experience, you know? But if all of these things overlap, then chances are it's a very, very safe cop, and you shouldn't have any issues reselling this piece for a profit. Not only you wouldn't have issues reselling this piece for a profit, but it should also be easy to sell. It shouldn't be an item that you sit on forever, right? So these are the items that I typically like to go for. And these are the items that I consider full sending. These are the items that I purchase in bulk. And this also includes items that are sitting. There's a lot of streetwear releases that literally sits for days and days and days, and despite it being on the website still, people will still purchase for resale price. I don't know how that works. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm not complaining. So as a result of that, we should use that to our advantage, because imagine if you could just buy something with such ease and then sell it with such ease. Just because something is in stock, don't let that scare you. For collectibles and sneakers, I wouldn't say the same for those categories. However, for streetwear specifically, just because it's in stock, it doesn't automatically mean it's a brick. And if you want to see some real examples of me putting that into practice, you can go and watch my Highway to 10K series. I've done it so many times where something is literally just sitting and I just buy, like, I buy so many of them, like thousands of dollars worth, because I am confident in my ability to be able to sell those. All right, so what's next? So how do you actually sell the pieces? So you have items, you're trying to get rid of them. So I'm going to go over the different ways you can sell it. So the best way to sell it is with a bulk buyer. And if you have at least 2 to 3 reliable bulk buyers, reselling is seriously on easy mode for you, because it's extremely convenient. They tell you ahead of time what they want, and then you could just ship it out or meet up in person, all in one go, right? You get rid of it very, very quickly. Selling speed 10 out of 10, you basically sold it even before you got it in hand. And profit, obviously, you won't have to deal with fees unless for some reason you don't trust your bulk buyer, but that's not what I'm talking about. If you do trust your bulk buyer, you do not have to deal with fees, but there is a chance you might have to give them, like a little bit of a bulk discount, because typically when it comes to bulk buyers, they're buying it so they can resell it too, right? However, it's still going to be more than how much you would get it on apps. So if you do not have any buyers yet, personal buyers yet, dude, you have to start putting in the work. So how do you actually do it? So the first thing is to grow your Instagram page. And why is that important? Number one, it increases your credibility, increases trust in like someone doing business with you. If you have 0 freaking followers, no one, like, it's going to be difficult to, try to do like a $3,000 transaction or something, right? It's just obvious. And also it helps buyers find you. We have had a social media seminar. So if you're interested specifically on growing your Instagram page, then feel free to watch that social media seminar. On the YouTube VOD, I am going to be posting it in the description. So if you're watching this from YouTube, then just look for the description. The social media seminar will be there. Secondly, what's even more important is outreach, so that you can find your own buyers. So if you are really like putting in the work, reach out to like 10 buyers every single day, right? Especially if you're just getting started, you have no connections, you have to make the connections, man. The connections, unless you're a banger of a, content creators, the connections aren't going to come to you, right? But either way you go about it, you are gonna have to spend a lot of effort in the beginning. But one here, anyways, I'll save it for later. But it's very, very simple. You can just go on Google or maybe Instagram, Earlier, I made a Google search, buying Hellstar Instagram. Boom, East Village buyers, brand new Hellstar tees. Want to buy brand Hellstar and Denim tiers. You just reach out to them. You just say, hey, is it here? All right. You say, hey, I see that you're buying some streetwear. Would you be interested in my Supreme or Hellstar or whatever it is that you're selling? And here's my list. So you have to make a Google Sheets list of your updated inventory. Or if you're using Scout, you can also use Scout. However, Scout, honestly, it's not like a mainstream thing as far as I'm aware. So people might be a little bit sussed out with a Scout inventory link. So just send them a Google Sheets spreadsheet, right? And what's the worst that could happen? Right? They say no. They say no, your prices are too high, and then maybe you can negotiate with them, or they just outright ignore you. See, we live in a very special time where to do like quote unquote cold calls, right? You don't have to literally call people and have the shame of talking to them. You can literally just copy and paste your opener, right? And just start blasting away, messaging people. It's honestly not like you can like probably reach out to 10 potential buyers a day, just while you're taking a shit instead of like scrolling through TikTok or whatever it is that you do. You can just do this, right? And then increase your potential to make reselling very, very easy for yourself. So yeah, go ahead and do that if you haven't yet. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that you do not need like thousands of followers to be able to find good buyers. There's a lot of people who just have like 300 followers, 400 followers, and they're able to like, have reputable or reliable buyers, as long as you do good business, you have a referral page, you don't need like 1,000 bajillion followers, dude. Just put in the work, and opportunity will present itself. Another thing you can do to find bulk buyers is your local Facebook streetwear buy and sell group, right? So some people, they would recommend Facebook Marketplace. However, Facebook Marketplace for me, back when I was using it, it was a little bit weird. So what I would find more useful is if you buy your local buy and sell group for sneakers and streetwear on Facebook. And that's how I personally met a few of my bulk buyers, is through Facebook groups. Yeah, again, you don't need a huge following to be able to find reliable bulk buyers. And even if you go through Facebook, if you find a reliable bulk buyer through Facebook, then like you don't even need Instagram or whatever. But it's like it definitely helps for sure. Trying to think, there's definitely something on my mind that I am missing here. All right. So before I move on from this topic, understand that a lot of this, it looks like a lot of work, and to be frank with you, it is a lot of work. However, once you find your 2 to 3 reliable bulk buyers, that's it. You can stop if you want to. Obviously, you're going to be limiting your opportunities if you stop like doing outreach and growing your Instagram page and your personal brand. However, you do have the option to just stop doing all this outreach and all this like growing your page and stuff if you want, if you already have it, once you've found your few buyers that will buy basically everything from you at good prices. Okay, moving along. Consignment. So the convenience is 8 out of 10. Like it's pretty self-explanatory, having to go into a store, talk to them and stuff like that. It's slightly inconvenient, but still very, very convenient. The selling speed, however, is one of the biggest downsides to selling on consignment. Like you might have an item sit in consignment for months, or it's really going to depend, but it could be from a few weeks to like maybe a couple of months. However, this is where the profit is like just absolutely disgusting. Like 10 out of 10 profit. Honestly, I would say it's a 15 out of 10 profit just because you can sell for way, way over market price. So Supreme OG, I'm not sure if he's in here, but I remember him saying something like back when the monochrome denim tiers first released, which by the way were super easy to buy, he mentioned that he was listing them on consignment, like listing the hoodie and sweats set for I think $700 to $800, which is freaking ludicrous, dude. Like that's just he's basically scamming, bro. Like he's scamming. So consignment is definitely an excellent way to get the most amount of profit ultimately. However, it's not for everyone, being that items could sit. So how do you actually find like consignment stores? Well, easy. You just go on Google and then you look up consignment stores near you. If you want, you could just go there in person, or you can call them, DM them, however you want, and then just ask them like what their consignment fee is, like how it works, things like that. Because local stores, they're all gonna have like different policies and stuff. But either way, it is very, very convenient. You literally just once you find a consignment store that you're comfortable with, you find that like, oh, they have like decent sales volume, decent foot traffic. You literally just go there, you dump all your shit in consignment, and then you call it a day, and then after that you get paid, right? So it's very, very convenient. So between consignment and finding bulk buyers, like these two are should be your priority when selling streetwear. However, if it's not, we can obviously still sell online. However, there's a few things that's annoying with selling online. Is the convenience. I give it a 6 out of 10. And the reason for that is oftentimes you would have to take pictures of your items. And then you have to list it on various platforms like Mercari, Grailed, eBay. And it's important for you to list it on all of these platforms because it basically just gives your items more visibility. When it comes to selling speed, it's going to be like a 6 out of 10, simply because you have to like inflate your prices to account for fees. So oftentimes, I personally, I don't like selling streetwear on StockX. I know some people do, but I don't like selling on StockX because their market is like shit, and they are plagued with fakes. They just let fakes pass. Therefore, I sell on Grailed. Now the market on Grailed is a lot more expensive. So I can sell like a Denim Tears hoodie for like $400, or not sell, but like I can list a Denim Tears hoodie for $400 without looking like a complete idiot, just because it's the norm there, and people do buy it, right? However, I 400 is a bit much, but anyways, however, the platforms that I like to use in priority order is Grailed, because holy smokes, dude, people pay the high on Grailed. Even after fees is gonna be well worth it. So make sure to work on your Grailed profile. And then eBay, for some reason, they let too many fakes pass. Not even pass, but like they allow fakes to be listed, right? So even the just the idea of people listing fakes, right? Let's say eBay has a 100% failure rate on fakes. Just the idea of people listing fakes will make your expensive listing look like shit, which is why I don't really like to sell on eBay that much. Alias, I like to sell just because it's super convenient. However, payout might be a little bit lower. And StockX is basically like my last resort. So yeah. So, okay. Moving on to Grailed and eBay listing tips. How do you actually get people to pay stupid amounts for your items, right? So the first thing is that a beautiful main image is key. The way I think about a main image for listings in general, it doesn't even have to be like with streetwear and stuff, is that I almost think of it like YouTube thumbnails. And the way YouTube thumbnails work is the reason why your YouTube thumbnail needs to be phenomenal is because you are competing with everybody else who's trying to also stand out. So as a result, I'm kind of taking that same philosophy and putting it onto eBay and Grailed. So I try to make my pictures as clean as possible. I'm trying to make my buyers, or like really anyone that's scrolling through their Grailed feed, let's say, I want them to say, I want that hoodie. I want that hoodie specifically, and all the other hoodies, fuck them. I know it's the same hoodie, but I want that hoodie in the picture specifically. So that's the goal. You want them to like kind of think that in their mind. but it is important that you do take a picture of the actual product itself. Try not to use stock images unless you're selling a pre-order and you do not have the item in hand yet. So furthermore, take multiple detailed, clear images. Now, the reason why this is important is because, first of all, I think the reason why a lot more people purchase on Grailed is specifically because sellers have to put multiple images. That's what sets, like Grailed apart from all the other platforms, Grailed and eBay, really, is that people get to see what they're actually getting. In a world filled with fakes, you never know what you're getting, right? If you're purchasing from just a stock image, you don't know what yours is gonna look like, right? So if I was a customer who really wanted kind of like an expensive hoodie, like a Denim Tears, then I would be willing to spend that extra $50 or extra $100 so that I can have peace of mind that the item is legitimate. So it's your job to prove to them, hey, the item is legitimate. Look at all these pictures that I took. Look at this order confirmation. And another good thing to think about is trying to think about like what separates a fake from a real hoodie. So for Denim Tears specifically, one thing that separates them is the hood. Like the thread, this thread on the hood, I believe, or rather, not the thread on the hood, but you see how this wreath goes on the inside of the hood? That means it's real. So if you know like what to look out for, or rather what buyers are looking out for to determine whether or not an item is real, you want to take close-up pictures of those things to give your buyers like peace of mind, and then they're more likely to purchase from you at higher prices, despite what everybody else is listing. So if you take an image like this, right, like the image on the left, and then what you're competing it with is other people who take images of like just stock images. Like people are obviously going to be prioritizing your listing over their listing because they know what they're getting. That's the important part about selling on platforms like Grailed and eBay. You have to use these strengths to your advantage, okay? And sometimes there are cases where an item is factory sealed and you literally cannot take an image of the actual image or of the actual product. And that's fine. You could just take a picture of the actual sealed image, maybe do some close-ups, different angles, flip it around, take a... Wow, that sounds really sus. Take a picture of like the barcode label, if they have any like labels, right? Yeah, do that. So just try not to use stock images. Another thing that's very important is that it's easily searchable, right? So you wouldn't put this onto Grailed listing as Denim Tears black hoodie, right? You want it to be easily searchable. So you want to put a very descriptive title like Denim Tears black cotton wreath hoodie. What else? Extra large, whatever the size is, right? In hand or something like that. Just make it very easily searchable so that no matter what the person puts in their search query, ideally your listing should show up. Okay, so those are like a few tips. If you want a lot more in-depth tips, I made an eBay guide that is public on my YouTube channel. You can use a lot of those same principles onto Grailed as well. Okay, another thing just to keep in mind when you're deciding to sell on Grailed and eBay is do not get banned. So if someone is trying to negotiate the price with you, let's say I'm selling a hoodie for $300, but they say $275, right? But if I sell for $275, I'm literally going to lose money because of fees. So what I would do in that situation, I would try to ask them like, oh, hey, do you want to buy on Instagram instead so we can like, so we don't have to deal with fees and I'm able to sell it to you for a price that you're happy with and a price that I'm happy with. All right. It would make sense to do that, but do not do that. Absolutely do not do that because Grailed, they have like some AI shit, or I believe this is also the case for every single selling platform where you can directly communicate with your buyer, where they will monitor your chats to make sure that you don't make what's called an off-site transaction. So do not say DM me on Instagram and then you put your Instagram. You're gonna get banned, dude. Don't even try it. So you have to get a little bit creative with it. So what do? You should look up. You should look up the. God damn it. You should look at their bio for their Instagram. So maybe they might have their Instagram on their bio. You can reach out to them that way, or maybe you can look up their username on Instagram. Sometimes they do have it on Instagram. Furthermore, you can have Instagram in your bio. And also, if you really want to, you can hint at them to message you on Instagram without making it obvious. So one thing that I like to do is if somebody price haggles with me and I want to move it off site, what I would say is, oh man, I would love to sell it to you for that price, but the fees are going to make me lose money. If only there was a way. If only there was a way to make that not happen. And then after that, you can say something like, "Oh fuck, I don't know, dude. You gotta get creative. I think you know what I'm talking about. Like, you have to get creative to try not to get banned. Some people will do the DM me on IG and they would use like the I emoji and then the G, but personally, I think that's a little bit too easy. Grailed can easily, put in an algorithm that detects like if you have the I emoji and the G, then that's obviously Instagram, right? But try to get creative, okay, guys, if you decide to do this. But this is just keep in mind, having a working Grailed profile is very important. So try your best not to get banned. I believe you get one warning, and if they catch you doing it again, you're fucked. So just try not to get banned. Okay, all right. So all that being said, it's still possible that some items might sit for a little bit longer than you intend to. However, patience is key and perseverance is key. Perseverance in listing your items, perseverance in trying to find consignment stores to sell at, perseverance in trying to find reputable buyers, trusted buyers, things like that. It's key. Gotta do it, man. So what if you can't afford to actually have your items sit for like months? That's perfectly fine. Should you still resell if you can't afford, resell streetwear if you can't afford to do that? And my answer is yes, it is still worth it. So personally, what I would do if I was in your situation is you would purchase only the low risk items, which I spoke about earlier on how you can identify that. Basically combining your own market research, DS guides, Supreme OG guides, and maybe some other buyers that you're in contact with. If all of these overlap, then you should have no issues selling fairly quickly. So you combine that with all of the selling techniques that I spoke about earlier. So let's say I have a bunch of hoodies that fell under this category, right? And I'm looking to sell it. So number one, I would sell it as pre-orders the moment I get shipping confirmations. Number two, I would build my IG page and reach out to buyers at the same time. Number three, once it gets in hand, I would list on every single platform and make sure to list on those platforms as best as I could with like beautiful images, plentiful images, a lot like very detailed descriptions, things like that. I would do all of these at the same time, and you would have absolutely zero problems selling these low risk items for very, very good profits without having to like wait for so long. You could probably sell within like, very quickly, even comparable to like sneakers and stuff like that. All right, so I think that is about it. Closing thoughts are: be proactive, find stores, find buyers, do your market research, and grow your reselling brand. So a lot of these things, it's one of these things where it's like high initial time investment, but it really, really pays off in the end if you decide to stick with reselling for quite a while. It's going to make reselling unbelievably easy for you. It's not even funny. And you're going to be making a lot more money than these other fools who just sell only on StockX. You know what I mean? Opportunities are going to open up to you. You just have to be proactive with doing these things. And even if you're not, you can still sell online without any issues. Just, follow the guide that I mentioned here. So that is about it. Does anyone have any questions at all? Drop them in general voice. To do that, you go here, open chat in general voice, and then you put it here. All right. How do you go about selling to people on Instagram? Most of the time, they never get back to me, or I have to consistently message them. How do you deal with shops that are awful at communication? You follow up with them a few times, and then after that, you move on. That's it. There's like hundreds of like local stores, if I had to guess. Well, at least for me, I live in New York. I don't know about you, but you don't even have to be. It doesn't have to be local. You know what I mean? It could be like anywhere, as long as you're willing to ship out. Unfortunately, we don't have our shipping label, our USPS shipping label plugs anymore. Because that would be amazing. However, we do have a UPS shipping label plug, which I do recommend more so for bulk buyers anyway. So the way to get around this really is to just do more outreach for more buyers that will not ignore you. Another thing to consider is maybe your page. Like, what if your page just looks sussy? You know, like, how many posts do you have? You don't have to answer this. This is just a general thing. Like, how many posts do you have? Do you have a profile picture? Do you have a bio? Do you have a referral page where people can, like, say like whether or not you're legit, right? Maybe they're not replying to you just because your Instagram page looks like a scam page, right? So it's just another thing to consider. Otherwise, you just keep doing outreach. Would you try just showing up in person? Don't want to look desperate, bro. Betty White, I promise you, it doesn't matter. You should, what you're telling me here is you give a shit about what other people think about in your attempts to try and sell some pieces. It doesn't matter if you look desperate. Number one, you're not gonna look desperate because other people definitely have, and number two, it's not gonna matter. And second of all, something that is, I'm going to tell you from my experience as like an influencer, kind of hate that word, but as an influencer, I've had a lot of people message me in direct messages, right? Asking to work with me. And sometimes I would ignore them, quite truthfully, just because like maybe it's not something that I'm looking for at the time, or I'm busy and then it just like slips my mind, or maybe I really don't want to work with them, right? Now, some of them would just follow up like non-fucking stop, bro. Like almost to the point of being annoying. But guess what? The people who follow up a lot are the people who I would personally consider the most to work with. So if I see someone putting in the effort to really want to work with me, you know what I mean? They would be the first thing on my mind if I'm looking for a partner or something like that. So there is a lot of value in, quote unquote, bothering whoever it is that you want to work for, work with, sell to, do business with. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you look desperate. At the end of the day, if it's going to increase your chances of doing better business, then that's the right thing to do.